Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
I want to say how much glad I am for being here with you tonight, to be talking about spiritism, talk about depression, talking about how the spiritism may help us to relieve the symptoms of depression and to help us to have a better life. So this lecture is just one part of a seminar of 6 different conferences. The first one is Depression and Jesus, the greatest psychologist ever. The second one is Depression and Self-forgiveness, happiness with no guilt. Because some cases of depression, we have guilty feelings from other lives. That was my case. We may be bringing some guilty feelings from other lives, producing more depression on us. The third lecture is Depression and Spiritual Obsession, the influence of the spirits in the depression cases. The full lecture, that is tonight's lecture, Depression, Deattachment, and Materialism. We're going to talk about Deattachment, about realizing that we are spirits, that we are not only this body, and we are going to talk just a little about the joy of working towards the good, the joy of doing charity. The fifth lecture is Depression, Self-knowledgement, and Inner enlightenment. It's very important to know what are the talents that God gave us and to put them to multiply. So we are going to be much more happy than what we are. Sometimes we are just bearing the talents that God gave us because we want to satisfy our parents, we want to satisfy the society. Then that wonderful painter becomes an awful lawyer, or that extraordinary musician becomes a mercenary of the medicine. So it's very important to find out what are our mission here on earth. The question 258 of the Spirit's books tells us that, because Allan Kardec asks if the spirits before reincarnating, if they choose the trials, if they choose the proofs, the problems they are going to have on his life, on their lives, and they say yes, they do. And that is because of this free will. We have free will to choose the trials that we are going to live on earth. And the sixth lecture is Depression, Mediumship, and Panic attacks. And so we have a 6-hour seminar about depression. Tonight we're going to speak just about 1 hour. And we are going to focus on materialism, Deattachment, and we're going to give just some psychological and medical view of depression to help us to get through this, okay? Everything's fine? Yes. Until now? I told you that Cearense English is easy to understand. And so, my friends, depression is not a modern disease. It's very ancient. We have always had depression in the humankind. It was not known as today. It had different names. It was called melancholy. And the people used to live very few years. We didn't have such a long life as today. And we didn't have such a stress as today, where the people were not so excited as we are now. And it seems that's what my spiritual guide says, that we are very close to a change. The earth is going to become world of regeneration is not going to be a world of proofs and trials and expiations anymore. And Jesus has told us in his gospel, at the end of the times, I will spread of my spirit all over the world. Your sons are going to prophesy, your old men are going to have dreams, showing us that the mediumship is going to become much more often, it's going to be much more common and usual in the days that the earth is going to become a world of regeneration. In Spiritism, Allan Kardec teaches that there are different kinds of worlds. The primitive worlds, the worlds of trials and expiations, like earth. We have the worlds of the regeneration, the next step. We have the happy worlds, and we have the divine worlds, where the poor spirits live. So that's why there is so much suffering on earth, because this is a different kind of world. This is not the rule of the universe, it's an exception. God is perfect. We cannot judge God because one part of the creation, earth, is just a little sand,
Corn.
grão de areia,
Corn.
sand corn in the ocean, in the beach that we know as universe. So we shall understand that it's a different kind of world. As Jesus has told us, on earth you have afflictions, you're going to have problems, because my kingdom is not from this world. But take heart, because I won the world. So this world, it's a kind of test, it's like kind of exams to the spirits that are not so much evolved, that they can prove that they are good enough to inherit the earth. Like Jesus told us, blessed are the meek, because they will inherit the earth. Bem-aventurados os mansos, porque eles herdarão a terra. So the bad spirits, they are going to be aparted from the good ones, and they are going to immigrate to another world, as Jesus has told us in the Gospel. The end of the world is not being a good translation. It should be translated by the end of the times, the end of the cycle of trials and expiations, and a new cycle of regeneration. So the spirits tell us that we are the workers of the last hour. It is very close to a big change in the world. In some years, we don't know when, only the good spirits are going to reincarnate on earth. The bad spirits are going to be expatriated, they are going to be put off from earth. That is the spiritist view of the apocalypse. God is not going to destroy the earth, but it's going to make a separation. It's going to separate the wheat of the joio do trigo. Quem sabe joio do trigo, vocês me ajudam. The wheat from the grass, you know. He tells us that in the gospel that the workers ask the Lord, Lord, shall we take the grass away from the wheat? And said, no, don't do this now, because if you do this, you're going to take wheat that is growing. So let them grow together, and then separate them in big portions. That's almost in this way that Jesus told us. So earth is a different world. We are going to have sufferers. We're going to have pain in this world. In the question 920 of the Spirits books, Allan Kardec asked the good spirits, Is it possible for man to enjoy perfect happiness upon the earth? And the good spirit says, no, for corporeal life has been appointed to him either as a trial or an expiation, as a suffering. But it depends upon himself to lighten the evils of his lot and to render it as happy as life can be upon the earth. So the Spirit says that it's not possible to be absolutely happy, completely happy on earth. We shall be as happy as possible, but my kingdom is not from this world. They want us to have resigned, they want us to have patience, and we are going to have a lot of problems, wars, we're going to have disease, we're going to have depression, we're going to have the loss of the beloved ones, we're going to have miseries and so on. But he asks us to persevere, to take heart, to keep going, because he's going to help us and a new world is coming. So, depression, there's always have been depression on earth. In the Bhagavad Gita, the earliest book of the Hinduism, in the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, the disciple, there's a moment where Arjuna falls in a deep melancholy. In the book of Job, in the Bible, at that moment that Job has a lot of problems, he makes a very strong, he looks like being depressive in that moment. And Aristotle, he used to say that Socrates and Plato, they very often they used to retire themselves and to be alone, where they fell in melancholy. And in that moment, Socrates used to speak to his guide, to his spiritual guide, to his guardian angel. At that moment, they were named as daimons or daimones. The Greek word that has been changed by the evil one, by demonios in Portuguese. So, but originally it means good spirit, guardian angel, mentor, or something like that. So we have been in all the history a lot of cases of depressive, and even depressive, that man, that woman could do a lot of things. We're going to see that depression is like a treatment. It's an intensive treatment. It makes us stop. We are always running after the things. We are anxious. We are always worried about things, and depression will force us to stop and to ask, what am I doing? It's going to force us to do the self-acknowledgement, the question 919 of the Spirit's books, where when Allan Kardec asks, what is the most efficacious method of ensuring one's own moral improvement in the present life and resisting the attraction of evil? And the spirit of Saint Augustine answered him, one of the sages of antiquity has told you, know thyself. It means that it's very important to us to know ourselves. And the psychologist says, Carl Gustav Jung, the famous psychoanalyst, the disciple of Freud, they say that everybody has a shadow, a lot of things that we don't know about ourselves. Imperfections, but good points too, that we need to know, and depression is going to help us to go inside, to make this dive inside ourselves. And when we find out what depression is trying to tell us, we're going to have a big improvement in our spiritual life. We're going to have a jump in a spiritual way. So many famous men of the humankind have been depressive. The biographers now today, they say that Michelangelo, he used to be a depressive one. The biggest genius of arts and sculpture was a depressive one. But even so, he did a lot of wonderful things. They say that William Shakespeare, the greatest dramaturg of every time, by his characters like Hamlet and some others, they disconfia. They think he was a depressive guy too. And many others. Abraham Lincoln, one of the greatest presidents of the United States of America, was a typical bipolar depressive. You know, there's a kind of depression that is bipolar, where the person swings between the good moments of high euphoria, high energy. He does not feel asleep. He is not hungry. He has plenty of energy, and that moments where he is completely depressive. He loses all his energy and so on. So we can see there are a lot of people like Alberto Santos Dumont, the Brazilian who has invented the airplane in the same time that the brothers Wright. Everybody is discussing who did it. But Alberto Santos Dumont was a depressive one, and he committed suicide when he saw that his invention was being used in the First World War, killing innocent people. And he died killing himself with a tie. And many other men, like Virginia Woolf, the very famous writer Edgar Allan Poe too, Leon Tolstoy, a genius which has the IQ of 190, a very intelligent man, was a depressive one. Many men were depressive. Nazareno, why today it's so bad being a depressive one? Because it seems that our spiritual guide, he says that, Nazareno, you should not say that you are depressive. You should say that you are romantic. Because it is the same thing. If you take a look at the poets, the great poets of Brazil, like Castro Alves and many others, they were not only romantics, they were depressive too. And as depression strikes our immunological system, in that time we didn't have the penicillin, we didn't have the antibiotics. Antibiotics? Antibiotics. Yeah, please come sit here. The first line is better for me. It's my guardian angel incarnated. Thank you, Tim. And we didn't have the penicillin, the antibiotics, and the depressive people, they have the immunological system very weak. So in that time, the tuberculosis could be fatal, could be lethal to that people. It's okay? You keep smiling when I speak, okay. And you too, please raise your hand whenever I say something that it's Cearense English, okay? And even Divaldo Franco had depression. Divaldo Franco tells us that when he was a young man, where he lost his first job, he was 17 years old, with a very strong mediumship, he saw the spirit saying, "Kill yourself, the life is not worthy." And he went to in a high building with an elevator, and tried to jump. But in that moment he was going to jump, his sister, Nair, which has been killed herself, which has committed suicide because his husband had an extra-conjugal relationship, a very, very sem importância, without importance.
Yes.
But she was so angry, she was so mad that she take poison and committed suicide, the oldest sister of Divaldo Franco. Then she appeared to him. He's a medium, he's a vident medium, vidente.
Super simple in this case.
A medium that can see the spirits.
Clairvoyance.
Clairvoyant medium. And she appeared to him and said, "Crazy, don't do this. Look at me, look at my state. Look how I am." And he gave up committing suicide. So we have a lot of wonderful people that had depression, and even so had done a lot of things for the humankind. We can talk about Francis of Assisi. Francis of Assisi, before his mission, before he starts his mission, he was a very rich young man. He used to be on parties, drinking and having fun. He went to war, went to fight against Puglia, the city neighbor to Assisi, and he was put in jail. They lost the war, and he stayed about 1 year on jail. He got sick, lost a lot of weight, and after some months, his family paid ransom and could bring Francis of Assisi back home. All his biographers tell us that he spent almost 1 year sick, on bed. They don't explain what was exactly his disease, but Divaldo Pereira Franco, in the seminars about Francis of Assisi, tells us that he had 1 year of depression. And it was during that very long night of almost 1 year that Francis of Assisi realized the shining of the stars, that he realized that he had a mission here, and he lived the gospel of Jesus like no one else has ever have done before. So depression many times is going to make us wake up, is going to make us stop, and to make us find out what is our mission. It's going to help us. The spirits tell us that disease are like because the physical body is like a carbon, it's like a filter, como a esponja, like a sponge that filters, that absorbs the imperfections of our spirit. So we put out a lot of things, bad things from our spirit in the physical body. And the disease, most of the times, they are come to help us. In my case, I have depression since I was a child, and I have been an atheist. I didn't believe in God for 12 years. I needed the depression, I needed the financial crisis to look for God. And I found the answers to my heart in spiritualism. And so depression may help us. They may be as like if you are a horse and you have small hedges, hedge de cavalo, like uma armadura para proteção, like armor. Yeah, the disease may be like an armor to help you to not fall in new temptations. So I was so much proud, I was so much selfish, And I was so much, I had so much intellectual vanity, vaidade intelectual, intellectual vanity, that I needed depression to stop me and to make me wake up. Because of the meaning of the suffering is not, God does not want us to suffer. He allows us to just to harvest what we have planted. But He only allows this because He knows that from that bed, from the heart, the hurt is going to good will somente Deus só permite o mal porque dele vai nascer um bem maior. God only allows the evil, the suffering.
That, something good will grow.
Something good will happen. The good will springs. Wow. and that is our case. Joana de Angelis, the spiritual guide of Divaldo Pereira Franco, she used to say that the flowers, they wake up only because of the sun. When the sun raises, they wake up. At the first rays of the sun, of the brother sun, they wake up. But the stones, she says, the stones still need the dynamite to wake up. So we are like stones. We need the dynamite of suffering to wake up for love, for the real life. So suffering is just a contingence, it's just an exception. It's not the object of our lives. The objective of the spirit in earth is to evolve. But sometimes we need the suffering to cure our huge pride and selfishness. We need it. It's like amargo, bitter. A bitter medication is like a very deep chirurgy that the father delivers his child to the doctor, but he knows that it's going to be good to save his life. So to help our spirit's life, we need the initiation, we need the proofs, the trials, we need the suffering to open our eyes, to open our hearts. And in this kind of planet, we're going to experiment trials and expiations. So my friends, if we do find out what depression is trying to tell us, we're going to have a big improvement in our spiritual life. It happened with Ludwig van Beethoven, the famous composer. He became deaf around the 60th symphony. At that time, he couldn't hear even the bells of the church. He was completely deaf. And he was romantic too. And he was very depressive. But even deaf, even depressive, he gave us the 90th symphony, Ode to Joy, the most extraordinary composition of every times. Every times?
All times.
All times. Of all times. See, even if we are passing through the treatment of depression, if we are being romantic, we're having romantic episodes, we can do a lot of things for humankind. So all those men experienced this and have been doing a lot of good things for humankind. So, depression is not sadness. Sadness is normal. When you lose your job, when a friend goes away, when a beloved person dies and you are missing her, when you are sick, or when you have a affair problem, an affective problem, you correct me. You please help me, okay?
Okay.
Is it fine so far?
Yes, it's okay so far.
And sadness is normal. It's we used to call luto How do they call luto in English?
Sorrow.
Sorrow. Well, whenever somebody dies, we used to use black clothes, and we need some time to get through this, and it's completely normal. Depression is only when this sorrow is too long, too strong, too deep, and we need something or someone to help us. Because many physicians are being very hurried to diagnose depression. And some disease, they look like depression but are not depression, like anemia, the lack of iron, lackness of iron. Anemia, is it okay? Yes, when somebody with anemia, he looks like being a depressive one, but he's not depressive. The hormones T3 and T4 from thyroid, when they are unbalanced, we look like depressive people, but we are not. The lackness of vitamin B12, the cyanocobalamin, it produces a charta, produces quadro, produces a lot of chart of symptoms very similar to depression, and it's not depression. Some kind of verminosis, worm disease.
Yeah, worms.
Worms.
Intestinal worms.
Two, when you are very very strong disease, and you seem to be depressed, and you are not depressed. So the physician, he shall give the medication. He is correct, but he shall ask a lot of exams to find out what is the cause of the problem. And we are going to see today that there's a lot of possible causes for depression. And what could I say? So our spiritual guide says, Nazareno, take care with the labels. Do not say that you are the depressive one. Say that you are romantic. It's the same thing. Because the poets were depressive. As like a drug addicted, somebody who is addicted in drugs, when somebody said you are addicted, he cannot forget the drugs anymore, because his life is addiction. We put uma lupa, a glass to, to magnify things. We only see a magnifier to only see that. So we need to be careful. It's like when we are on a diet. When the doctor says you cannot eat chocolate anymore. Oh, we dream about chocolate. We have nightmares. Well, we cannot think about any other thing. So it's like when Buddha was teaching his disciples how to meditate. And one of them told him, Master, I cannot silence my mind. I'm always thinking of different things. I just cannot be quiet. What should I do? And Buddha told him, it's not a problem. You can think whatever you want. But do not think about the monkey. I said, the monkey? He said, yes, the monkey, the animal. Think about whatever you want, but don't think about the monkey. I said, okay. He went back to his room, and after 2 hours he came and said, Master, I can't take the monkey out of my head. So we need to be very careful with the labels, because when we assume that we are depressive ones, everything is going to remember depression. And we have cycles, like nature has the seasons, the human body too. Sometimes you are more full of energy, sometimes you are romantic, and we don't need to be so much worried about depression, because we're going to be using a glass of magnifier. We're going to see depression everywhere. Okay? So whenever you are depressive, say that you are romantic, or that you are in reflection, because it's too much more cheeky. Then it's too much more cheeky than to be depressive. Because nowadays, the media, the TV, the movies, they teach us that we need to be happy. It's the dictator of the happiness. Dictator of happiness. So they show us the big stars in the movies, in the magazines. They are always beautiful, they are always smiling, they are always young and thin and rich and so on. They look like very happy, but in a matter of fact they are not. Many of them are addicted on drugs, in alcohol. Many of them commit suicide. Many of them have family problems, and we just see the pictures of the good moments. They are paid to smile. So we need to be very careful, because my kingdom is not from this world. We cannot find the absolute happiness in a trials and expiation planet. Okay? So which are the causes of depression? We have a lot of them. We have organic causes, biological causes. The researchers prove that the depressive ones have lackness of serotonin, dopamine, or noradrenaline. These neurotransmitters, they are very related to our mood. So we shall use the medication. The spiritual treatment does not replace the medical treatment. Because in the Spiritism we are treating our soul, our spirit, but our body needs food, needs medication, needs exercise, and so on. So it's very important to say that. Because some Spiritists, they say, oh no, I am Spiritist, I don't need medication. And the bad spirits are going to say, very good. And in the question 228 of the Medium's book, Allan Kardec asked the superior spirits, what is the moral imperfection that the bad spirits use with more easily to damage us, to attack us? And the superior spirits say that in all the human imperfections are like doors to the influence of bad spirits. But the one that they use with more efficacious is the pride, because it's the problem that the Creator never see, that the Creator does not admit he has. Okay, we're not talking about the positive pride, like the satisfaction of doing something good. This is okay. To be proud of living here, it's a good pride. To be proud of being Brazilian, and so on, because of football and so. And but we are talking about that different kind of pride. The pride that means we own the truth. We are only we are right. Only we know what is right or what is wrong. When we start to condemn our brothers, so this is a bad pride, and we think that we are perfect. Pride is very bad because we cannot see our imperfections. And if you are here to evolve, How am I going to evolve if I cannot see what's wrong with me? Pride does not let me see what is wrong with me. Because we use a mask, like a cover. A cover, it's okay?
Cover.
A cover because we need to be accepted by people. The psychologists say that the greatest fear of a man is the fear of death. Freud used to say that. But other very important fear is the fear of rejection. We want to be accepted by everyone. Nobody can speak bad things about us. Nobody can think different than us. So we want to be loved by everyone. We want to be better than Jesus, because neither him could be accepted for everyone in his time. So I try to satisfy everybody, because I thought, my name is Nazareno, maybe I can make it. But I am very far from Jesus, which is the most perfect example, the most perfect human being that God gave to the humankind to be our model and guide, like in the question 625 of the Spirit's book. We cannot even to compare with Jesus. He is a very high spirit. He sent us a lot of messengers, because in the Bible he says, before Abraham I already lived. So we believe, we Spiritists, that Jesus of Nazareth is a very ancient spirit, which sent us Buddha, which sent us Confucius, which sent us Krishna, which sent us Moses, Mohammed, and Francis of Assisi, and a lot of good spirits to help us to improve ourselves. But Spiritism says that people are very different, and there is no religion better than the other. But people are different, so they need different religions. In the Extremo Oriente, in the Far East, we needed the Buddhism, we needed the Confucianism, Taoism, Brahmanism, Shintoism, Hinduism, and so many doctrines that talk about reincarnation. The Discovery Channel, in a documentary named Past Lives, Stories of Reincarnations, tells us that two-thirds of the humankind believe in reincarnation. And in the Middle East, we needed the message of the Prophet Muhammad, of the Islam. And in the West, we needed the thousands of different kinds of religions based on Jesus Christ. 1,200 different ones, because we are all different. So God did not leave anybody without medication. The best religion, says Divaldo Franco, is that one that touches our heart and make us become better person every day. This is the best religion, because we are all different. So, the problem is not the Quran. The problem are the fundamentalists that take the letter that kills and do not absorb the spirit that vivifica. Redempts. And so we, in the name of the Bible, we did the Crusades. In the name of God, we had almost 600 years of Inquisition, killing, torturing, burning people in the name of God. So the problem are not the scriptures, but we when we are proud, when we think that only we are right, then we do such kind of things. So we need to be more tolerant. We need to understand that people are very different, and everybody has a different level of evolution, and we are completely different of each other. And we can see this in nature. If every leaf of a tree is different from the other, every crystal of water, when it freezes, becomes different than the other. I look at you and see that you are completely different, because we had different reincarnations, we had different parents, education, we have different problems, we have different dreams, we have different problems, dreams, and tastes. No, tastes. I look at you. There's nobody using the same cloth that the other. Everybody is using a different color, a different model. See, we are all different. But the proud wants to believe that he is the right one. He has all the intelligence of the universe. So, depression has organic causes. We need to use the medication. The medication is going to help us to give the first step to go out of depression. And my spiritual guide, he says, Nazareno, the medication is good even to the influence of the bad spirits. That's right. Because when you change your mood, when you smile more, when you think better, when you think good things, you disconnect from the bad spirits. Because it's a problem of sympathy, of affinity. Like a radio, you can connect to the good spirits when you think about good, about charity, about love, happiness, joy, altruism and benevolence, indulgence, and so on. But you can synchronize like a dial of the radio in the bad thoughts. You can think of depression, you can think about angriness, hate, jealous, you can be envy, and whenever you do like that, you are influenced by the spirits that think in the same way. They amplify your thoughts. Okay? Then when you use the medication, we increase our spiritual environment too. So, but the most of the times, the people gives up medication because the doctors, they are very worried about depression, because they know that depression is the first cause of suicide, and they are responsible for us. Then they give us a strong medication to be sure that we are going to be fine. And that medication sometimes is so strong that we are not feeling well with that. So I suggest that you look for different doctors, try different medications, then you're going to feel better. I have to change it a lot of times until I found the best medication for me. Because everybody is different. Every body responds in a different way to the medication. And the antidepressives, they do not cause dependence, chemical dependence. They don't. They even help us to lose some weight. They say, yes, you have more energy. And it's going to be good for us. What causes dependence are the tranquilizers. Sometimes they are necessary. When you are asleep, when you cannot sleep, when you are very anxious, so you need to use the tranquilizers too. It's better if you have a better night of sleep, a good night of sleep, and so on. Okay? But try different medications. One friend of mine asked, Nazareno, but why everybody talks about depression nowadays, and some years ago nobody did? In the country, nobody knows what is depression. But in the big cities, everybody talked about depression. What is that? I said, Marcio is his name. I'm not sure about that, but I think 3 causes. I think that we are very anxious, with a lot of stress. The Organização Mundial de Saúde, OMS, Organização Mundial de Saúde,
The World Organization for
Health Organization.
World Health Organization.
World Health Organization
Organization.
tells us that the first cause of disease is the stress. Are not drugs, are not alcohol, are not the food. Stress. So Jesus was right. It's not what comes into the mouth of a man that becomes him unclean, but what comes out of his mouth, because mouth speaks of the heart. Yes, something like that, isn't it? Did you understand me?
Yes.
So a stressed mind is much more important for our health than the food, for example. Having a healthy food is good for health, but if you have a serene mind, if you are in peace, if you are not anxious, you are going to have much more health than if you do a lot of good things, but you are stressed. And I told him, and I think that because nowadays we don't do exercises anymore. We are very sedentary.
Still.
We are very still. It does not sound good, but it's okay. Yes, we are. Our body. We forget that our body was built in millions of years, hunting, running, fishing, climbing the trees, arando solo,
Plowing the ground.
plowing the soil, and nowadays we don't do exercise anymore. We only push the remote control button, or we open the refrigerator door. There's plenty of wonderful things in Adele's house. There's a wonderful refrigerator, and Tim is a very good cooker too. So I need to take care. And I think that in the future we are going to invent a remote control to open the door of the refrigerator. So we're going to not have any effort to do anymore. Okay. So we need to do exercises. When we do exercise, our body produces endorphins, substances that give us health, good mood, energy, we sleep better. So why did we forget playing soccer, playing tennis, playing like children used to do? Why do the girls do not play volleyball anymore? Why don't they dance anymore? Yeah, let's start. Let's go back to the academy to dance, to practice some yoga, Tai Chi Chuan. How do you say Tai Chi Chuan?
I think it's the same for that one.
Tai Chi Chuan,
Tai Chi.
Tai Chi, and many other things. We don't need to go to the gym and become Rambo, because we stress our body and we got fatigue.
Tired.
We got a lot of tired, and we lose all of energy, and that's not good for health. We need to do more light exercises, okay? Light exercises, okay? Balanced exercise, yes. Yoga, Tai Chi, Aikido, Judo, martial arts, and so on. And dance is very good. Yes. Nazareno, is the spiritists may dance? Of course they can. Of course they can. The problem is not what we do, but what's on our mind. We may be in a church, we may be in a Protestant temple, we may be in a Buddhist temple, we may be in a spiritual center, and be with our heart, with angriness. We can be very bad fog, maybe with very bad fogs. But we may be dancing with friends in a nice place, and it's okay. So in spiritualism, we don't used to say, "Tell me who are your company that we are going to tell who you are." We should say, "Tell me what you think, and I am going to tell you who are you walking with in a spiritual way." It's okay? For you, do you understand? Because we used to say, generally, "Tell me who are your companies, and I'll tell you who you are." But in spiritualism, we could change this and say, "Tell me what are you thinking, which are your thoughts, then I'm going to tell you who are your spiritual companies." Okay? So, we have the problem of the mediumship. It seems that mediumship has become much more common than before. Many people that are with depression, some of them are mediums. And I have a lot of friends that said, "Nazareno, I had depression, and I went to the Spirit Center. I started to study mediumship. I started to work on mediumship, helping the others, and giving passes or working on the disobsession meeting, and I became much more better." So sometimes we are more sensitive to the spiritual influences, because Jesus has told us in his gospel. And the other cause that I was saying, I said the three ones. But there are more causes of depression. We have psychologists' causes of depression too. And I have a lecture, I have a conference that is named Depression and Jesus, the Greatest Psychologist Ever. In that lecture, I talk about a lot of teachings that Jesus has told us that are very good as a psychotherapy. And many psychiatrists today, like Hannah Wolf and many others, say that Jesus' gospel is a very good psychotherapy guide. So if you want, maybe any other time, if Adele invites us, maybe I can talk about the psychological causes of depression. But the CD and the DVDs are ready. If you want to take to home, all the money goes to the Spirit Center to pay my ticket back to Brazil. Or I may be stuck here, which will be good. It's a nice country, but I need to go back to my work. And there are the spiritual causes too. The spirits may influence our lives. In the question 459 of the Spirits book, Allan Kardec asks, well, if the spirits, if they influence our thoughts, our lives, and they say, do you have a Spirits book here in English, please? And a Gospel according to the Spiritism? It will
Swedish.
it'd be useful. No, Swedish is not good for me.
Swedish is not useful.
In Portuguese, you can translate.
No, it's not the same. In
No.
Portuguese,
In Portuguese.
I know. But that's okay. And then I was talking about the question.
They are influence our
Oh
life.
yes, 459. Allan Kardec asked if the spirits influences our lives, our thoughts, and the superior spirits say that yes, more often than we think. Usually, they guide you. Then I didn't understand the question. I said, how do they guide me? Don't I have free will? Yes, we have free will. We may synchronize, we may connect to the good spirits, watching our fogs, or I may connect with the bad spirits by my thoughts. So that's why Jesus told us, vigiai e orai,
Pray and
be vigilant.
vigilant. Be
Be-
vigilant and pray.
Be vigilant with your thoughts and pray so you will not fall into temptation. You see, it's not to be vigilant to your neighborhood or to your brother, but your thoughts. Be vigilant. Take care of your thoughts. Because our mind is very powerful. Our mind needs to be disciplined. We need to look for good readings, good movies, good TV programs. We need look for good conversations, because otherwise we may go into low-level vibrations of thoughts. Okay? And somebody asked Chico Xavier. Chico Xavier, that was the most famous medium in Brazil, wrote more than 400 books, mediunic books, in the vacation time, in hora de folga, como diria hora de folga? Free times. He used to work, but even so, during the night and helping a lot of people, giving a lot of messages from mothers, from children who has died to their parents, and helping prisoners, helping sick people, helping children, orphans, and many other social jobs. And even so, he wrote more than 400 books by psychography. And Chico Xavier, they asked, Chico Xavier was the best solution, was the best medication for his spiritual influence, for his spiritual obsession. Then he said, the first and the most important treatment for the spiritual obsession is the study of Allan Kardec's books. Because we are going to understand things, we're going to have a more powerful faith, we're going to have the ears to see, and the eyes to see and the ears to listen, that Jesus was to say, who has ears, let him hear, in the gospel. So we're going to understand where we are come from, why we suffer, where are we going to, what are we doing here on earth. So with this more perfect comprehension of life, we're going to be much more safe from the spiritual influences. And Divaldo Franco, he's a clairvoyance medium. He tells us that in the sessions of study, he sees the good spirits helping us incarnated and the disincarnated spirits that come with us. Some parents of us that are brought to here. Chico Xavier used to say that the population, the spiritual population around the earth, is 3 or 4 times more than the incarnated population. So each one of us has 3 or 4 spirits for each of us.
For each one of us.
Yes, each one of us. And some of us have more than this. Yeah? And they are brought, they are carried to here. Carried to, is okay?
Yeah, carried.
To be helped. So in the study sessions, that's why it's very important to study. Allan Kardec told us in the Obras Póstumas,
Posthumous works. Posthumous works.
Posthumous works. In this book, he said that in the project 1868, that is very important to have a permanent study of spiritualism. And Spirit Emmanuel and André Luiz, through the medium Chico Xavier, had said the same. And Bezerra de Menezes, a very famous doctor in Brazil, there is a very superior spirit used to speak about, through Divaldo Pereira Franco mediumship, that the study is very important for us. And the Federação Espírita Brasileira has a completely collection of books to help us to study the most important books of spiritualism. The Spirit Ângelo agarrou. 25 years ago, he spoke through the medium Cecília Rocha, which is diretora? Director of Federação Espírita Brasileira, and they developed the ESD, Estudo Sistematizado da Doutrina Espírita. Systematized study of Spiritism doctrine. So, we need to do our inner reform, inner improvement. So, if we become more better people, we are going to connect to superior spirits. Okay? Chico Xavier used to say that better than shoot the flies is to cure the wound that is attracting the flies. You know flies? Yeah, I'm very good on mimics. And what is this kind of wounds? The moral imperfections. The medium's book tells us this. So we need to try to change our pride, our selfishness, our envy, all the bad things that we still have. So we're going to connect to superior spirits. They say that in the medium's book that the best way to keep us away from the evil spirits is doing charity, working towards the good. Because when we are doing this, we are our company, a spiritual company of the good spirits. And the presence of the superior spirits afasta, repels the bad spirits' presence. Okay? So if you want to be protected, be always trying to be good for your neighborhood. As Jesus has told us, love God upon all of the things and love your neighbor as yourself. So, but tonight we are going to speak about the social causes of depression, the problem of the materialism, the problem of the attachment, the problem of the financial depression, which is one of the biggest problems nowadays. Okay, and we're going to make a little pause.
Break.
A little break, yes, a little break of 15 minutes, and then we're going to discuss only about the attachment and the materialism, and we open it to questions that you can ask me if I can answer, okay? But only easy questions, okay? Well, now we are going to finish some points that we have just started, and you may write your questions, and Adele is going to classify them, to organize them and give it to me during the lecture. Then I try to answer during the conference, okay? We are talking about depression, all the possible causes, and tonight we're going to study about the social causes, about the financial depression. We're going to study about the materialism, the attachment, and if there's some time, I want to talk to you about my personal experience with depression. But we are very worried nowadays with the money. We have a lot of bills to pay. We are always running. We've got a lot of stress and anxiety. And this may improve our depression too. People is very worried about tomorrow. It's very concerned about your children, your future, your health, and so on. And we have in Jesus the most perfect model, the most superior spirit that we may found a lot of answers to our problems. And one day I was in a romantic night, and I was complaining about some things, and my spiritual guide, through the inspiration, he asked me, "Nazareno, why are you so romantic?" And I was wondering. I didn't have an own house. I was living with parents in Brasilia, and I was almost 40 years old and didn't have my own house, and my car was very old. And then he gave me a very beautiful lesson. He made me remember about Jesus. And every special man of the humankind, they have taught us about renounce, about deattachment, as a very important solution for happiness. We don't need to hate the material things. We shall use them, but we shall not be slave of the material things. We shall not be slave of money, because the money, the material world, is not going to give us happiness. The kingdom of heaven is inside of us. Okay? And I was complaining about my home, and sometimes we do that. We think, oh, I am going to be happy if I have a very good house in Fortaleza with the seaside and a wonderful sun, or in Swedish, and a wonderful apartment in a nice place, and Jesus of Nazareth, the most perfect spirit that have been on earth. He used to say, foxes have holes, and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man does not have a stone to lay his head. We complain about our car, and the economy says that the man is unsatiable. Unsatiable? Yes. One of the synonyms of economy is the science of escassez, of the science of lackness, because they say that they try to use the limited natural resources to the unlimited needs of the man. Is it correct? There's an economist here. And it's true. We are never satisfied. Who has a bike wants to have a motorcycle. Who has a motorcycle wants to have a car. Who has a car wants to have a brand new car, or an helicopter, or a jet. We are never satisfied. We use the material things like drugs. It's a kind of vices too. We are happy, then we go shopping. We are anesthetizing. You are using that. You are we are shopping to forget our problems. As we use the alcohol, as use the drugs, as use the sex, use the internet, use the readings, use the novels, using the TV and movies. We are running away from ourselves, from our problems. Some kind of vices are good, some kind of vices are very prejudicial, like alcohol, drugs, and other things. So, the Saint Augustine in life, he used to say that the man has an emptiness of the size of God in his heart. We need something else. We are not satisfied with material things. We are always trying to use and buy new things, and some days later we are completely unhappy again. It's like salted water. As more as we drink, the more we are thirsty. We need to drink in the fresh water of the gospel, the pure source of the truth that Jesus had offered to the Samaritan woman in the Jacob's Poço in the city of Sychar. And
Poço
well, and the Jacob's well in the city of Sychar. And thank you, my guardian angel. And we have a lot of complainings. We are never satisfied. Jesus of Nazareth used to walk under the strong sun of the Judea, and he never took a car or a horse or a chariot, and they were, and he was never hurried. We are always running. We are running in maximal speed. We are many times putting our lives in risk because of the time, because of the worries. And Jesus of Nazareth had only 3 years to leave us a wonderful message. He was with 12 men with a lot of problems. 12 poor, ignorant, weak men, but he was never stressed. He was always serene. He was calm. We don't see Jesus running. We don't see him worried. He's always in peace. The only time he took a vehicle, he asked a donkey por empréstimo. He loaned. Yeah, he borrowed a donkey to enter in the sacred city of Jerusalem. When the people was expecting him, saying, "Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord," and that same people, some days later, fearing the Pharisees and teachers of the law, have crucified Jesus because our weakness, because of our fear, because we do not want conflicts. We decided we preferred Barabbas instead of Jesus of Nazareth, because the Pharisees and teachers of law say, "Do this, you shall obey us," and we did that. So we are wondering about our family. We are complaining, and Jesus of Nazareth had no family. He didn't get married. He didn't have children. These wonderful little children that we arrive at home and hold and kisses, and so good for us. He renounced everything in name of the humankind. We complain about our friends. They betray us sometimes. They disappoint us. And when Jesus of Nazareth was on the cross, he was alone. Only John, the youngest of the disciples, were with him, and the women too. And all the ones, even Peter, that he asked him to take care of his rebanho, rebanho? Então um nomezinho parecido com fork, assim. Peter, that he said, "Peter, do you love me?" He said, "Yes, Lord, I love you." He asked it 3 times, "So take care of my sheep." And he denied Jesus 3 times in the front of the palace, of Caiaphas' palace. And when he returns, when he is from the resurrection, he appears to all of them and said no word. He wasn't angry with anyone. He said he was like nothing had ever happened, because he knew that every of them had their limitations, had their problems. He didn't feel angry with his friends, and we are so much worried about them. We complain about money. Jesus of Nazareth, they have not money. And the time that the tax collectors asked him to pay the taxes, he asks Peter, go to the lake and get some fish. Inside of it, you're going to find 2 drachmas, and you're going to pay the tribute. He didn't have money. We are concerned about clothes. We want to use famous brands. We want to be, because we fear the society. We want to be applauded. We want to get the social approval. And Jesus of Nazareth used simple clothes. And the moment that he's being crucified, the Roman soldiers, they jogam sorte, they play coins or something like that to know who was going to get his clothes with blood. So he leaves the world in minimal clothes or naked even. We don't know. We complain about our food, and Jesus of Nazareth had to ask people to lunch in their home, to dinner with them. He was not carrying food, or not money, nothing. We complain about the glory. We want to be accepted by everyone. And the glory of Jesus of Nazareth was a crown of thorns and un cetro de cana, and like a baston de cana, cane, sugar cane, and instead of a throne, he won a cross. We complain about the time. We don't have time. We don't have time to go to the church. We don't have time to go to do social work. We don't have time to go to the Spirit Center to study. And Jesus always had time. The disciples want to take away the little children and say, let the little children come to me, then do not hinder them. And tell them that if you do not look like these little children, you certainly are not going to enter in the kingdom of God. We want beautiful graves, and Jesus of Nazareth hadn't want to be buried, and they have to ask Joseph of Arimathea to find a place to bury the body of Jesus' body. We complain about a lot of things, and even his mother, he gave it to us. When he was on the cross, he looks to John and say, son, there is your mother. Woman, there is your son. Even his mother, he gave to John, the beloved disciple. He taught us about the Deattachment. When a young man wanted to follow Jesus and said, Master, please wait because I'm going to bury my parents. And said, let the dead bury their own dead. Or it means, let the spiritual world take care of the spirits. They are going to be helped, but come with me now. Because you are always adiando? Postponing our change, our decision to follow the good way. So he even told us, the one who does not love me much more than his father, than his mother, than his son or his brother or sister, it's not worthy of me. And he told us that we should love our Father above everything, with our strength, with our spirit, with our heart, and our neighbor as ourselves. So he invites us to trust in the providence divine, in divine providence. And we do not. We are always worried. And the most important good that we have, life, he gave us when he was about 33 years old, the plentiful of his forces. And like the Lamb of God, he goes to the sacrifice. without complaining, without crying, as a proof of love, saying that there's no love bigger than this, that the one who dies, that gives his life for his brothers. So we are complaining about a lot of things, and we're going to see that we are very worried, and he taught us how to deal with this. He said, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Today, the day of today had already these afflictions, his problems. And who, with his worrying, can live 1 hour longer of his life? In the contrary, as much more as we are worried, sooner we die. And they say, so don't be worried about tomorrow. Don't be worried about to eat or what to wear. Isn't life much more important than the food? As it isn't body more important than the clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They don't plant, they don't store, and the Father in heaven take care of all them. Aren't you much more worthy than the birds? Look at the lilies of the field. I tell you the truth that neither Solomon, with all his splendor, had never ever been dressed like them. If the Father dressed the grass that today grows and tomorrow is going to put into fire, how much more about you that are his beloved children, or little faith men. So Jesus of Nazareth invites us to trust in the divine providence. He is not asking us to be inconsequent. We shall be prevident. We shall have some reserves. We shall have some plano de saúde, health insurance, and so on. But we shall not be worried about tomorrow. We shall live one day at each time. Okay? Why do the children are so happy? And why do we become sad, worried, and so on? Because they live intensively the present moment. It's a kind of meditation. It's a Zen Buddhist meditation, the full attention. If there was a children here, what was she doing? She was jumping, playing, running. Do you think she was worried about tomorrow? About the homework that she has to do? They don't even remember. If they were worried about them, if they had money for the lunch at the school, what clothes they are going to wear, the very hard exams they are going to do in the end of the year, they don't even remember. They are full in attention in the present. So Jesus has told us to be like children, to live our life intensively, because it's very important for depression. Because we are not inside. We are worried about the future or stuck in the past. So it's very important to detach from the worries too. And who knows the first phrase of the Psalm 23? It's very famous. O Senhor é meu pastor, nada me faltará. Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Isn't that? Do you know how did I read and how did I understood this? I read as it is written, but I didn't understand the correct way. I read, Lord is my shepherd. He is going to give me everything. Is this that is written there? No, I shall not want. Or say, or he means nothing is going to be lacked. I'll feel no lack of anything, isn't it? So when we put our life in God's hands, we shall not want. We are going to be more satisfied and worried. And we have a lot of examples there of the divine providence in the life of Francis of Assisi, Bezerra de Menezes, Eurípides Barçanufo. He invites us to trust in him and teaches that. He said that look first for the store treasures in heaven, where thieves cannot rob, where traces no roy, the move, assim, the roast, I don't remember the word. Store treasures in heaven, and everything else will be given to you. And it's true, my friends. It's true. When we look first for the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, everything else is given to us. And we shall be, because he tells us that a man that had a lot of wheat, he had a wonderful harvest, and storage it, and said to his soul, rest. And I said, crazy, today I'll take your soul, today I'll take your life. So we'll never know the future. It's very important to understand that in spiritualism, richness is not a sin. If you read in the Gospel according to spiritualism, there's a chapter, there's an item that says the providential use of the future. So the richness is not a sin, because richness is fruit of the work, and work is a law of God. But richness is a temptation, is a trial too that is very hard to resist, because it makes us selfish and make us proud. So we need to take care of richness. And it's the Spirit Samuel, he told me, Nazareno, you need to understand this parable, this passage of the Gospel. There are two moments when the young man, the rich young man, come to Jesus and say, Master, good Master, what shall I do to inherit the eternal life? Then he answered, what is written on the law? And Jesus tells about the 10 Commandments to the guy. And he says, I obeyed this since my youth. And Jesus said, do this and you will live. Folks, if we do obey the 10 Commandments, that's all right. If we do 20% of the Gospel, it's wonderful. Because nature não dá saltos, a natureza não dá saltos. Nature, in one step each time, it does not jump. We are not going to become angel in a estala de dedos.
Rome was never built in one day. Yes. Rome was never built in one day. Yes.
Okay, that he said. And so this is the first part. If we do this, it's all right. But he showed us the second stage. He said, but if you want to be perfect, like Francis of Assisi was almost perfect, like Mother Teresa de Calcutta, like Chico Xavier, like Buddha, the Prince Sakyamuni, and many others, go sell all that you have, give to the poor people, and renounce yourself and follow me. This is the second stage. I cannot do this until now. I cannot sell all my goods and give to the poor. And this is not the proposal of the gospel. In the meeting with Zacchaeus, I don't know how you say it in English. Zacchaeus. Yeah, Jesus said that he was a rich man, and even so, Jesus says, "Blessed you are, Zacchaeus," because he was helping, he was employing a lot of people. So we can be rich, yes, but we must take care, because it's a trial to our pride, to our selfishness. Okay? So that's, I want to see the questions. Yeah, if you could have brought before, but it's alright. I wanted to make these appointments. And
There's no question.
this is about alcoholism. There's a lecture about alcoholism over there. It is about mediumship. How may I help somebody that does not is not happy, if that is having trouble with these financial difficulties, isn't it? Well, we can give some support. We may help telling this. We may show him that money is not everything. Money is going to give us only comfort. Comfort is okay, but it's not going to give us happiness. Confucius used to say that truly rich, it is not the one that had a lot of money, a lot of treasure, a lot of properties. Truly rich is the one who is satisfied with little. Do you understand? Verdadeiramente rico não é quem tem muitos bens, muitas propriedades, muitos tesouros, não. É quem precisa de pouco para ser feliz. This is the real rich one. So, we are not satisfied because we are not happy with ourselves. We have lack of faith. We want to have the approval of everybody. We want to be respected. We want to, because many of us have problems of self-esteem. My psychologist said, "Nano, do you know why do you became a speaker?" I said, "No, why?" He said, "Because you have low self-esteem. Then you want to compensate. You will try to compensate your self-esteem, receiving the applauses of the people, and as you see, we don't know ourselves. We do a lot of things because, but we don't know the real reason why we are doing that. And we may speak about the attachment. Buddha told us about that. Chico Xavier, Madre Teresa, a lot of people. So, Nazareno, what else can I do to help the Spiritism? The Spirits told us that Jesus tells us that in the passage of this world of trial and expiation to a world of regeneration, there's only one thing that he requests us: the charity. He says that the Son of Man, when he comes, when in all his glory and with his angels, he is going to put on a side the sheep, and the other side the goats. And they asked what was the meaning of this, and said, "I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was naked and you gave me clothes. I was in prison or sick and you went to visit me." He didn't ask us to become angels. He just wants us to love our neighborhood as ourselves, because we are so much selfish yet. And we are on a trial. We are doing a test. And we, my friends, we are doing the test, and we have the answers. And the next to us is just mark, tag tagged in the right place, isn't it? We know the script, you know the answers, and we may do a lot of things. Allan Kardec has never used the word karma in the Spirit's books. He always used the expression law of cause and effect, because he wanted us to understand that the good that we do changes our karma. So the good that we do is our lawyer everywhere. In the question 1000 of the Spirit's book, the Spirits say that only through doing the good, doing charity, being good for the others, we may repair the evil that we may have done before in our other lives. Because they say that if you cannot find the cause of the suffering in this life, it may be in other lives. And if you take a look at our past, it's horrible. Our books of history, they are not completely true, because the heroes of the humankind are the warriors, are the men that killed with the sword. We had a lot of wars. The men used to attack the other cities, not to defend themselves, but to rob the treasures, to take the land, to rape the women, to enslave the men and the children. That's what we have been doing for 1,000 years. Our past is not that good. So, we forget our past, but we are here to prove that we are good enough to inherit the earth. We are very close to this moment. We don't know whatever it's going to be, but some people say that Chico Xavier has told us that since the Second World War, many spirits do not have authorization to reincarnate on Earth anymore. They are being separated. And some people told us too that the Spirit Emmanuel, the spiritual guide of Chico Xavier, told that in the year of 2057, we should be living in the world of regeneration. It means that only is going to reincarnate on Earth the good people around this. Allan Kardec told us to be very careful with spirits that say dates, but and we have the free will, we may prorrogar, antecipar, anticipate or delay this, but and we're not sure that Emmanuel did say that. And Allan Kardec tells us that for a revelation be accepted, it shall come from many different spirits through different mediums too, and they shall be passar pelo crivo da lógica e da razão. They should be
able to be accepted by logic and reason.
Yes, they should be able to be accepted by logic and reason, because Allan Kardec was the good sense incarnated, said Camille Flammarion, the greatest astronomer in France in that time. So, my friends, if it is true, maybe this incarnation is the most important of all of us. We are, the Gospel according to the Scriptures say that we are the workers of the last hour. There's no more time to waste. We shall start to do something. Do you think that our life is just to come here to eat, drink, to sleep, and work and waste money? No, we are being tested. That's what it means, a world of trials, proofs. We are being tested to be accepted in this new world that is coming. So, Spiritism does not ask too much for us. Just ask that we use our ocupações fúteis, and useless time, and useless spare time to do something to the others. And what's the best charity that we can do to spiritism? The dissemination of it. It means that we live, that we bring entendimento para as pessoas, esclarecimento, enlightenment for people. In Buddhism, there are 5 kinds of compassion, and the most extraordinary of them, the white compassion, is the compassion of bringing enlightenment to people, telling them they are spirits, that the life goes on, and they keep straight, they be comforted, we may spread joy, comfort, peace everywhere. This is a wonderful charity that can do. So that's our today's lecture, and I would like to finish with a little story. Is it possible? Do you think it's enough time? Yeah? Okay, my friends, I'm going to tell you a story that Divaldo Pereira Franco used to say in his seminars. The story of the boy named Bill. Bill was a 6-year-old boy, but he was sick. He was with leukemia. Leukemia. And he was in the hospital. He was very thin, very pallid, very weak, and his mother was very concerned about him. And she went to talk to the doctors and asked, please tell me how long my son is going to live. The doctor said, oh, my lady, we did whatever it was possible. Bill is going to die in a week. And she cried a lot. And she went to the boy's room, and as he was presenting the death, he asked, Mommy, is it close? Is it near? He said, no, Bill, what are you saying? You are in one of the best hospitals of America. You're going to be good, you're going to be healthy. Don't say this, my son. But he could feel that death was approaching, and he asked again, Mommy, is it near? Is it going to be soon? And she said, yes, my son, it's going to be soon. The doctor said that you're going, about 1 week, you're going to be in the hands of God. Then she saw a long tear coming from his eyes. And he said, baixinho, he whispered, oh, Mommy, what a sorrow. I would like so much being a voluntary fireman. It broke the heart of the woman. But she had an idea. She called to the fireman department, and the commandant answered the call, and she told the story. And could you send me one of your men dressed like a fireman to say some words to my son, who is dying? I said, lady, I can do a little more than this. I said, what do you mean? Tell me, what are the measures of the clothes of Bill? What's the size of the shoe and the diameter of the head? And tell him to keep straight, to be healthy. That in the next Wednesday we're going to have a formatura, a graduation of voluntary firemen. And we're going to clothe all the uniforms here. So give me this and tell Bill to be strong, that next Wednesday he's going to fulfill his dream. And she was very happy. She said to the little boy, he had a spasm. His face became red, and he got better. And the next Wednesday, taken in a wheelchair with the drops, the medication in his veins, in a wheelchair. He was with the other firemen, and he was very glad. It was the graduation party, and the commandant looked at him and said, "Bill, come help me to raise the national flag." And said, "Oh, okay." And he rose the United States flag. And sooner the alarms sounded, and the commandant looked at the computers. It was just a small point of fire, very easy to extinguish. Then he have an idea. Said, "Fireman Bill, we have a fire. Are you two coming with us to extinguish it?" And the boy looked at his mother. The mother looked at the doctor. And the doctor, "It's okay." And they put him in the car, and he went with the fireman and helped to extinguish the fire, and returned to the hospital in a state of grace. He was very glad. And some weeks later, when the death was approaching again, then she decided to call the fire department again. And the commandant answered the call and said, "The fireman Bill is dying. May you send one of your men to say goodbye to him?" Said, "Lady, I can do a little more than this." "What do you mean?" "Tell me in which floor and what's the room number that Bill is in the hospital, and tell the social services, tell all the doctors and nurses that don't be afraid, because we are coming with a lot of cars, and we are going to say goodbye to one member of our corporation." And in some minutes, a lot of vehicles, a lot of cars with the sirens on, with the lights on, and crossing the streets of Santa Monica in California. And the stair was put to the fourth floor, and the commandant, followed by 11 firemen, and entered into through the window, and talked to Bill, and he was very glad. And they talked along, then saying that at the end, the commandant said, "Fireman Bill, I dismiss you. You may go. But tell our father that we will be here, saving lives, extinguish the fire, because we know that you are going to be with us." The little children smiled, closed his eyes, and his spirit went to the kingdom of heaven. My friends, each one of us can do a little more. In the question 909 of the Spirit's book, Allan Kardec asks if it's necessary to do a big effort to get our happiness in the spiritual world, and the superior spirit say that no. That, in matter of fact, we need just a little effort. But quão poucos de vós o fazem? How few of you do efforts? So, let's do our part. Let's have the joy that to be with all these good spirits like Allan Kardec, Bezerra de Menezes, Eurípides Barçanufo, Jerônimo Mendonça, Emmanuel, André Luiz, Chico Xavier. Let's have this honor of being in this army, which flag is the charity, the peace, the love, the forgiven, and for all we may say someday, that God is good for me, take care of me, and with me He walks. I'm never alone. In my way, God is always with me. In the middle of the storm, I feel His hand rising me, taking care of me. In the middle of the darkness, looking at the horizon, I see the sun raises. Looking at the skies, I see the stars, and I can see God's power. In the smile of a little children, how beautiful it is. So I go and I clean the tears, and I go sing, and I go love, for this God is a God of love and joy and happiness. So that Jesus may bless all of us and be with us every time in our families. Thank you so much.
Thank you.